Hi, guys. My name is AJ. This is my co-founder, Young, and we're here to talk to you about Wonolo. It's an intimate crowd, so we'll start off with a little bit more interactive. So I just want to see a show of hands. How many people here have hired someone for a job in the past week? 3. OK, 4. Cool. All right, let me ask you a second question then. How many people in here have taken a taxi, Uber, Lyft, whatever it is, in the past week? So like 75% of you. So everyone who just raised their hand, you've all hired someone for a job in the past week, right? So depending on how you think about it, that job was you got in a cab and specifically asked that driver to take you from point A to point B, right? You asked that driver to complete your job. Now, if you were hiring a driver for you for a full-time position, you wanted your own personal driver, or perhaps you wanted to hire someone for your company, I'm sure you would have been a lot more picky on the selection of that driver, perhaps interviewed them, asked for reference checks, et cetera, right? But in this case, I bet you didn't think twice before you got in that car and asked that driver to complete your job. Am I correct? Yeah? Cool. So I guess the question is why is that, right? Why were you able to do that? So we think that there's 3 reasons why, and these 3 reasons are really important. So the first reason is you wouldn't just stop any random car out on the street and say, give me a ride, but you will stop any random cab. And the reason that you do that, let's say it's Uber, right? It's because you trust Uber. You trust that that company is responsible and that they've taken the proper checks to make sure that that job will get done safely and properly, right? The second piece is your job that you're asking this driver to do is very specific, it's simple, and it's straightforward. It's please take me from point A to point B, right? There's not a lot of interpretation required. And then the third piece is ease, right? As a passenger, you could consider yourself a hiring manager for this case, right? You're hiring this driver. It's very easy for you to complete. You hail the cab, you get in, you pay what the meter says, and you get out. There's not a lot of difficulty in this. So what we want to do is we want to take this model that we're all so familiar with, and we want to apply it to on-demand staffing, right? So we are Wonolo, and we are making on-demand staffing simple. So before I get into the demo of the product, I just want to give you a little bit of a story. It's about a customer of ours. It was actually our first customer. And so on the screen, you see Sharon. And Sharon works at a fast-growing fashion tech startup, and she runs the warehouse operations. She has worked out forecasting demand very well. Only problem is sometimes something unpredictable happens. And when something unpredictable happens, it throws her off. So at this particular time, this was December of last year, it was the Christmas season, she had a lot of orders coming in, and she had her staff working at full capacity, trying to get them to deliver all of their packages. But then something unpredictable happened. An article came out in the New York Times about her company, introducing her company to an entirely new audience, and it brought them in a ton of new orders. So it's fantastic news for her company, but it was tough news for Sharon. She couldn't tap into her workforce anymore, and she hadn't had any other way to get new workers in. She had tried temp agencies, temp staffing in the past, but they were expensive, they often didn't show up, and they couldn't deliver someone in the time frame that she needed. So she decided to use Wonolo. Okay? So what we'll do is we'll show you a quick demo of our app. We have 2 screens here. The left side is the requester, in this case Sharon, and the right side is the Wonoloer. So what Sharon's going to do is Sharon's going to log into her account, and she's going to create a new job. When she clicks on this button, the first thing she's going to do is put in the simple, straightforward description. So what she's going to say, it's probably pretty small, but it says, assist in our fashion tech warehouse, startup warehouse. The job will require you to pick clothes, quality assurance, folding and packing, applying labels, and shipping. After she puts that specific description in, she'll choose a type of job, which is warehousing in this case. She'll put in the wage, which is $60. She'll put in the location, 25 Taylor Street, 94102. She'll put in the estimated time. So this job is going to take about 4 hours. And then finally, she'll put the start time, which is 8:30 a.m. When she posts that job, this notification will go out to all the Wonoloers that are free and who are looking for work right now. In this case, Johnny looks at that notification, sees the job, and decides it's something that he'd like to do, so he accepts it. There's no interviews, no resume required. Once he accepts that job, Sharon gets a notification and sees that Johnny has accepted the job, that he's a 5-star Wonoloer, and she feels relieved knowing that her packages will all be delivered in time for Christmas. Johnny then heads out and heads toward the warehouse, arrives at 9:27 a.m. and pushes start. When he pushes start, Sharon gets a notification that Johnny has arrived, and she heads to the entrance to meet him, bring him inside, and tell him what he'll be doing for the day. 4 hours go by, Johnny completes his job, and he pushes complete on the app. Sharon gets that notification that the job is complete, and she knows that he's done a great job because she looks to see that all the packages have been packed and shipped out to their customers, fulfilled by Christmas. What she also heard from her line manager was that Johnny did such a great job that they should put him on a short list for when a full-term position opens up. So what she does is she goes in the app, she pushes approve, and approves the job, rates him 5 stars. Johnny then sees that his job was approved, he was rated 5 stars, and he goes home knowing that his money will be in the bank in 2 to 3 days. It's as simple as that. That's how Wonolo works. So right now, the on-demand local staffing market for businesses is very small and undeveloped, right? The closest competitor that we probably have is TaskRabbit. However, TaskRabbit is focused on peer-to-peer hiring, not business hiring. However, the local traditional temp staffing industry is a $130 billion industry in the US alone. And in fact, it grew 10% last year, year on year. By 2020, 40% of Americans are going to be independent contractors, and many of them will be looking for temporary work. And if you just imagine, what does that temporary work, that force look like? Well, it's college students, it's part-timers, it's stay-at-home moms, it's retirees, it's veterans, etc. This is an amazing workforce that companies would love to tap into if only they could. So we're just new and we're getting started, but we're already seeing signs that we're disrupting the staffing industry and the way that companies think about hiring. So if you think that in the not-so-distant future, companies will start hiring more full-time workers, decreasing their part-time on-call staff, and instead of relying on Wonolo to fulfill their on-demand needs only when they need them. Additionally, and something even more interesting, is that we believe that for specific types of jobs, Wonolo will kill the interview. Right? There will be no more interviews, no more resumes, no more simulations or reference checks. On-the-job performance through Wonolo will become the sole determining factor in recruitment for companies. Now, we are actually just 2 months old. We soft launched in December, but we're having great traction with small to medium-sized businesses. And what we're working on now is working with enterprise customers in testing and implementation. But really, this is not about Wonolo, and it's not about us. This is about you guys and how you can drive your business by leveraging Wonolo, right? And so the question is what type of jobs are the right type of jobs for Wonolo? Well, they're the ones that cover those 3 things we mentioned before. So jobs that require either on-the-job training or that might require minor prior training ahead of time. And so jobs that would fit into that are things like fulfillment, merchandising, event staff, hospitality, data entry, etc. These are the types of jobs that we focus on. In terms of our revenue model and how we make money, it's super simple. You post a job, and the amount of money that the job is posted for is the amount of money that the Wonoloer will receive. We then add on a service fee, and we invoice you at the end of the month. There's no credit cards. There's no hidden costs. We do business the same way businesses are used to doing business. Don't change anything. And as far as our team, we're really lean. This is our team right here. We have the big degrees. We have the big company experience. If you're interested in that, please look us up or talk to us afterwards. But what we think is really important is that we think that staffing is broken, right? And we think that flexibility is totally undervalued. And we're passionate as hell about making this work. We are going to be hiring in a couple of months. So is everyone here, apparently. But if you're interested, please come talk to us, and we'll be raising money later this year. And so our ask to you guys and to everyone here is that you give us a try. If you're a business and you have spikes in demand, or you run out of labor, right? You have not enough labor sometimes, we ask that you give us a try. And we're so certain that you'll have a better experience with us than anyone else out there, that if you aren't completely satisfied with it, we'll cover all the costs incurred, all the labor costs incurred during that trial period. So we are Wonolo. We make on-demand staffing simple, and we'll be down in the demo pit, and we'd love to sign you guys up. Thank you.
Awesome, awesome job, AJ. We actually use Wonolo for our bathroom attendants for the festival, and they're really, really awesome. Any questions, audience? Questions? Yes.
What are the target business verticals you're going to go after first?
Yeah, so the biggest area that's been working for us here in San Francisco, we're in 2 cities right now, and San Francisco has been e-commerce. So anyone who's shipping products, that's been the most successful space. They face the most demand shifts. But the other areas that we're going after now are retail, CPG, and hospitality. We think those are the 3 big areas that could have great impact with Wonolo.
This is a horrible question, but I'll ask it. Why Wonolo?
Yeah, I should have explained that. Wonolo stands for Work Now Locally. And so that's what we're focused on. Real work, so real jobs only. Right now, so immediacy on demand, and local. So we're not an Elan, so we're not an Odesk. You have to be there and show up to do these jobs.
Question here. Break us down with the 4. How many co-founders? Background. First inspiration.
Yeah, so 2 co-founders, Young and I. The inspiration was for both of us partially personal and partially professional. For me, example, my wife, we have 2 little kids, and she wanted to work while kids were at school. But no one would give her a job for the time that she wanted to work. They weren't flexible around her. They wanted her to be flexible around them. So we had this issue that we were running into. But furthermore, we work with we have a big CPG, Fortune 100 type company that we're working with right now. And we spend a lot of time in the field with their merchandisers. And we realized that their job is really inefficient and that something could be done to really improve their business and increase their efficiency, spend a little less money on their labor. So that was the base for we talked to a bunch of different companies and realized all companies have the same problem of managing unpredictability. And so that's where we started.
Cool. Any other questions?
Do you foresee a future where one, instead of working 40 hours, could split the 40 hours in 10 different jobs to get different experience, and through a platform like this, spend a little bit with one type of industry and a little bit more time with other industries? So especially people who are starting out, to gain a lot more experience and be able to fraction their time, like in many other industries, because that's where the digital mediation of the relationship between the employer and the employee makes a lot of sense, to be able to empower the employee to not be captive to an employer.
Yeah, I think that's a great question, and that was one of the places we started. So, for example, if you take a college student, you can consider this almost like an internship, where you work for 10 different companies, see what it is that you like, and then decide to pursue that. And then another thing is what people often, we've seen happen a number of times already, is people will start working for different types of companies that they would have never considered before, realize they like it, and that company then offers them a job. And we're totally open to that. Unlike temp staffing companies, which will prevent companies from hiring their staff, we promote it. So we really do see that. As far as doing a 40-hour work week with different companies, you might see that short term, but long term we imagine it more to be around flexibility, so prioritizing your passions over your paycheck, or finding the right thing and then pursuing that.
Cool. Thank you so much, AJ, from Wonolo.